Hey, what's up, everybody? This is OGP, the Overly Gaming Project, and today we are doing our very first YouTube video. This is extremely exciting, and as you can see on the screen, we are in Forza 7, coming at you with a tune and build. This is going to be a series that we're going to do on 1990s iconic sports cars. So this is the first tune and build in the series. We've started off with a classic, the 1994 Mazda Miata MX-5. This is a very cool car. It is one of my favorites. We have made this into a B class. The PI is 600. So without further ado, let us get into the build here. So first thing you do, we go over to buy a car, and you're going to make your way over to Mazda, which is here. Coming on down to 1994 Mazda MX-5 Miata. Once you buy the car, you'll get in the car and you will find a cool design, make your way to tuning and upgrades. We're going to go into the upgrade shop. So this car starts as a base E class with 288 PI, and let's work our way from right to left, starting with the conversion. For this B class Miata, we have our aspiration conversion. We stuck in a centrifugal supercharger. I picked this one over the others only because I like the power output, and it's just, personal preference. I mean, you can also throw in another supercharger, but for this build I went around the centrifugal supercharger. So for the aero and appearance, for the front bumper we have the race bumper, and for the rear wing we have the race rear wing. I choose these because they are adjustable for downforce. Now for this car, there's a rear bumper, side skirts, and a hood. Now you can change these. I went with I changed it to this one here. And it's purely for aesthetical purposes. The side skirts, the bumper, and the hood, they don't really make any difference to the car. It changes the weight a little bit, but it doesn't make any difference for this build and tune. I just did it because it looked kind of nice. So moving over to tire and rims, because this is a race setup, we went with a race tire compound. Pretty much common sense there. For the tire width on the front, I maxed it out. So the tire width is a 235 in the front. For the rear, which is the drive wheels, I went with the middle one. This puts it at a 245. Now, I mean, you can go all the way up here to the 265s, but I figure that's a little too fat for us. For what we're trying to accomplish, so stick in the middle. 245s works out really nice. For the rim, what I did was I went with this middle multi-piece rim style, and I chose the BBS RSGTs. Now here's the thing about the wheel selection. You can make this before the build for aesthetic reasons. So for these wheels, I think it looks really cool with this car. I think the color is good. I think the shape of the wheel is good. I think it's, it's pretty realistic for this type of car. If you go through the build and add your pieces and parts and you find you're 1 PI above the class level that you're trying to hit, or 1 PI or 2 PI below, come back to the wheel selection and just change it. Because as you can see, some wheels will lower the PI and some will raise the PI. So it really is a personal preference there. Yeah, there's some weight involved, but you can work all that out with your tuning. I picked these wheels, I believe I picked these wheels at the end of the build to make the PI be an even 600 for the B class, but I also picked them because I thought they looked really, really nice. So BBS RSGTs, as far as the size of these rims, I pushed it up to a 16-inch wheel. They come with a 14-inch wheel. I think a 16-inch wheel on this, A, it looks nice, and B, I think it adds a little bit of handling for this car. Onto the drivetrain. Now this, again, this is what I use. Clutch, I go with a race clutch. It just, for some reason, maybe it's an OCD thing. I just want some race parts installed on here. If you're using a manual, you're driving with a manual and you're fast on the controller with your shifting, don't put it on. Substitute, maybe an extra step up in a flywheel or something. Transmission, of course, is full race transmission, so we can do the tuning. Driveline is always going to be race, and the differential is always going to be race. 99% of all my builds, every single one of these is set to the race category, unless I'm trying to stick in a certain class. And anyway, for the brakes, race brakes, we have racing suspension, fully customizable. We have race front anti-roll bars. We have race rear anti-roll bars. Also for this build, I put in a full roll cage. Yes, it adds weight. I get it. But it also helps improve the handling for me. And I just wanted to do it, so I did it. Full weight race reduction. Full race weight reduction. It's pretty hard to say, race weight reduction. But anyway, full race weight reduction on this one. Now we move on to the engine. We have a race air filter. We have the race fuel system here. We have race ignition. We have race exhaust. We have stock camshaft. We have stock valves. We have stock engine block. We have stock pistons and compression. For our supercharger, we are at race. We have a race supercharger. And then the intercooler, we are at street intercooler, and I did this strictly to push it down into the PI that I needed. So we stick in the B class with a 600 PI. So street intercooler does that. We have stock oil and cooling. And for the flywheel, it is a street flywheel. And the reason I did that is because it didn't cost us any PI. And it lowers our weight by 1 pound, which actually doesn't really make any difference. But anyway, I did it. So those are the parts that you need for this build. And once you have all those parts installed, go over to the design section, get yourself a cool looking design, and you are ready to tune this bad boy. So this is a grip tune for this car. So starting off with the tire pressure, 28 for the front, 28 for the rear. Here's my gearing setup. This is a gearing setup. I used Catalunya as a track to test this on, and this gearing setup is really good for that track, but also because that track is sort of encompasses all areas of other tracks, short, long, fast, medium, whatever. This gearing tune is pretty universal for this car. So final drive 2.85, first gear 4.17, second gear 2.92, third gear 2.24, fourth gear 1.82, fifth gear 1.53, sixth gear 1.32. The alignment, we went with camber as negative 1.7 for the front, negative 1.1 for the rear, toe in out toe basically for the front and rear is 0, and our caster angle is raised to 6.0. Anti-roll bars, Very soft setting for this car. We have 10.66 for the front and 8.80 for the rear. Springs, again, very soft setup for this car. The front spring 301.5, rear 285.4. For the ride height, I have it up 2 clicks from the bottom, 1, 2, for the front and the rear. That puts it at 5.1 inches for both front and rear. It was bottoming out a little bit on certain tracks, but with it raised up to over 5 inches, I didn't really have much of a problem anymore. Dampening, again, soft setup here, 4.0 for the front, 3.6 for the rear. Bump is 2.5 for the front and 2.2 for the rear. We're moving on over to our downforce. Now here's the downforce on this, pretty important, and that's why we put the adjustable front spoiler and rear wing on. The front downforce, you know it, 69 pounds. I needed something in the middle. I tried it extreme one way and the other, and the setting right in the middle was perfect. I just kind of landed on the number 69 because I'm immature. Let's be honest. Not gonna lie, it's kind of funny. For the rear, I maxed it out at 200. You need that pressure and downforce on the back to help with the grip. The grip in this car is really, really nice. Braking force of personal preference. I choose 48, sometimes 47% in the front. Here's 48. And then for the pressure, I did 135. Again, it's a personal preference. You can do 100, you could do 150, whatever. Just play with it. I use 48% and between 130 and 160 on most all my builds, because the 48% braking balance towards the rear of the car helps with the front turning for me. The way I brake using a controller instead of a pedals, it helps the car turn in a little bit more. And for the differential, for the acceleration, I have 100% and deceleration is 0. Again, just helps keep the car a little bit stable. So that's the build. Leave a comment below if you have any questions about it, or tell me how you like it if you're going to use it. Go on out and get your your design that you want and have fun. This is a B class. It's really nice. It has a super amount of grip, and you can race it on short tracks, long tracks, medium tracks, speed tracks. It has decent acceleration, and it is really, really nice as far as the grip goes. So you'll do really well with it. I've done really well with it. It's helped me out. Anyway, this is my B class 600 PI race 1994 Mazda Miata MX-5 build. I hope you guys like it, and please, if you like it, leave a like, leave a comment, and I'm gonna do a whole series on the 1990s iconic sports cars, B class, A class, somewhere around there. I have about 15 to 20 cars in mind. I might add to that list a little bit. So far I have some B class tunes done. I'm working on some A class tunes, but stay tuned because there's more of this content coming. If you want more, let me know. So that's it for our first video, OGP, Overly Gaming Project. Real excited. Let's keep it going. So have a good day. I hope whatever you're doing is working out for you, and I'll see you in the next video.